water plant appreciates the donation of their 2 new laptops.
What is this?
Good guys, have a good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Took it. It wasn't updated.
Steve, does he have it?
No, he says he don't have it, so I must have it home. I thought I left with you.
Well, check and let me know.
I didn't even look because I knew it wasn't working.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with you?
I don't know.
Both of us. We lost the whole laptop.
She don't even know. So
He reminded me that I took it, and then I said, "Oh."
I thought for sure you did.
I thought I did too. I thought I walked in there and set it down.
Just like,
Looks like
All
it.
rise.
just like a lawyer, always late. I should know.
Wow. We could rate him.
I'll tell him.
This is nice and warm.
Huh?
Huh? I'm surprised.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Sorry. I know that they're gonna rearrange, but I didn't.
Well, Maryland's go back.
What happened?
John. I didn't get it. The other night. What other night?
I'll start to think it's good too.
So just to let you know, no. Okay. All right.
All right. We'll be getting underway in about 30 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 5. Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for tonight, January 23rd, 2024. Before we get underway this evening, we have Pastor Pete Flores here to open us up in prayer. Thanks for being our guest this evening.
Thanks for having me. 2024, looks like you're keeping the city on their toes. You guys switched it up. Right, let's go ahead and pray. Lord, we just ask you today that you would fill the hearts and the minds of these councilmen and these councilwomen as they come before you, Lord, in the decision-making, Lord, that would affect not only the circle, Lord, but the city. Lord, we pray that you would give them guidance, that you would give them understanding for the decision-making that will take place tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. This meeting is called to order. Let the record show that all the members of council are present this evening. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening when I got here, I reviewed the index minutes for the city council meetings of December 12th and of December 19th. Do we have a motion to correct or amend the index minutes for the December 12th council meeting as presented? Without any motion, I'll endorse them. And we have a motion to amend or correct the index minutes for December 19th? If not, I will endorse those as well. Do we have any liaison meetings, reports, or requests? All right. Without any, now would be a good time for me to mention that in 2024, I have the reappointment of council members to the liaison committees. For 2024, the at-large council members, of course, are always on the Traffic Commission. So Steve Waxler and Joe Uresti and Jill Crutch are all, of course, on the Traffic Commission, being our at-large council members. On the Buildings and Land, we have Steve Waxler. Economic Development, Jill Crutch. Finance and Budget, Steve Corbett. Police and Fire, Josh Mast. Public Relations, John Hancock. Public Utilities, Gas and Lights, Chris Engel. Sewer and Sanitation, also Chris Engel. Streets and Sidewalk, Joe Uresti. And with Waterworks, John Hancock. These are the appointments, unless, of course, we have a motion or an objection to these appointments. With no objection, the appointments are made. Would you like?
I'd rather that. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from council this evening? Mr. Uresti.
I'd like to inform council that on Thursday at 9:30 a.m., I'll be meeting with the Board of Control to discuss the reimaging campaign idea that's spearheaded by Jim Hamilton. It's an open meeting.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from council? All right. And I have a liquor license notice from Boundary Electronics Incorporated, doing business as West Park Eagle Supermarket, 4483 Rocky River Drive in Cleveland, Ohio, to 310 Defiance LLC at 310 West 2nd Street in Defiance. Do we have a motion for a hearing in this matter? With none?
Thank you.
Also, I believe there's an appointment to the Tree Commission?
Yes, Mr. President, at this time I'd like to announce that I'd like to appoint Julie Hauk as a member of our tree commission.
In regards to the appointment of Becky Julie Hauk to the Tree Commission, shall the consent of council be given to the appointment proposed by the mayor? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Hauk.
She will be a spectacular addition to that tree commission. Teaches at the Defiance City School System, and she likes trees, anything that grows.
And if she works at the school, then she probably has a good heart like you to work with people.
Yeah.
All right. On to the Board of Control. Mayor McCann.
Other than Julie's appointment, that's all I have, sir.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, Mr. President, I told council last time around that I would have a project update for you, similar to how I did it last year. I want to continue that on this year. So to start with, I wanted to hit on the Ottawa Avenue Corridor Improvements Phase 2. You should have gotten a link from the mayor. We put this project up on Zen City, which is where we're trying to highlight some of the projects. This is really a shared use path extension along that road in certain spots. I think down to Blaine, we're going to be upgrading, and that's coming from the north moving south, upgrading to some shared use paths and then creating some shared use paths in there. I can have more details for you that. Obviously, we'll discuss it more because the project isn't slated until 26. Right now, we're just doing some survey work on it from Manick and Smith, but there are details on that link that the mayor sent you earlier today. So I wanted to let you know we are surveying on that project right now. Derbyshire, the water lines are complete. Hohenbrink is working on sewer lateral replacements, and crews have started working on doing some lining work on some of the main lines through that area. So that's where we are. Kingsbury, we put the sidewalks in last year. There was some ruts, there were some problems with the actual settling of the dirt in there, so we're gonna get that reseeded this spring. Tree, sidewalk contracts, and street resurfacing contracts. Right now, Melinda is putting together bid packages for both of those to take place in 24. Jefferson Avenue water line replacement. Burgess and Nyepel is finalizing design plans, and again, that will be for construction this year. Webster Avenue water line replacements. We will be advertising that project on 1/25. Bid opening will be February 13th, and again, that's another construction for year 2024. The downtown and pedestrian improvements will begin weather permitting and everything, in March. So we'll be getting that started here for too long. Ginter Road, Ward will start the roadway improvements this spring to get that road taken care of with a completion date of July 31st of this year. So we'll be getting that road finally taken care of. It's been obviously an ongoing project since last year. And then just a couple that aren't necessarily related to roads or sidewalks, but Carpenter Water Tower we talked about that at budget time this year. We will be starting that project in April, and that's to get just to get it repainted. It needs done per EPA orders. And wastewater treatment plant improvements, Strain and Associates, the company that we're contracting with to work on that IWIP that we had approved and the timeline of projects that need done. They're surveying right now and doing soil borings out at the water plant for some upgrades that we're gonna have out there per the plan. So that's where we are currently standing on projects. Not a lot of them getting done right now in the snow and freezing rain and everything else we've had for the last week, but the crews, everybody's raring to go. So that's all I have right now.
That was a lot, but thank you. Mr. O'Donnell.
Mr. President, I would request an executive session for a conference with the attorney for a public body regarding a matter of pending litigation pursuant to 121.22 G3 Ohio Revised Code.
All right, we have a request for an executive session this evening. Do we have such a motion? Mr. Mass?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Engel?
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mrs. French?
Yes. All right, before we leave for this evening, we have an executive session. Anything else, Mr. O'Donnell?
That's it.
That's it? Ms. Sprague?
Yes, couple of things. I have purchase orders. Couple of routine, the police department purchase order 202400504 Verizon for $15,600. Police 202400482 multi-area narcotics 25,000. This ties into what Ryan was talking about. Engineering 202400467. Carpenter Water Tower painting 922,200. The MS4 202400465. Construction for East River Drive Wetland. That's Jen's project. 877,954, and that's 100% grant reimbursable. So just keep that in mind. And then water treatment plant, Constellation New Energy, that's our electric PO, 137,000. Also, Carrie sent out the statement of cash position today. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but just a couple of notes. I always really look at this. I pull it multiple times throughout the month just to look at our incoming revenue and our outgoing expenses. And if you look at the general fund, we were up just about 66,000 over our beginning cash balance over our ending, which anytime you can be positive is positive, so that's always the goal. But overall, our revenue versus our expenses was up about 272,000. So it's not a huge improvement, but considering what expenses have been is manageable. But we still need to be very cautious, especially with these big projects coming up. And one little thing that we run into that wasn't planned for is usually a couple $100,000. So just to be cautious as we move forward. And then one last thing, Lori brought to her attention. I guess back years ago, there used to be in the water bills in the winter a mailer that reminded you to shovel your sidewalks. We don't mail those out anymore, so this is just my friendly reminder to be a good neighbor, shovel your sidewalks. There's a lot of people out when the weather's nasty, especially living on Jefferson. I see them go up and down and trudging through the snow. So I told her I would throw that out tonight. And this will be the last of the snow and we'll have to worry about it. So that's all I have.
My kind of weather person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before we move on to legislation, there is one item that I was going to mention. We do need candidates for the Defiance Charter Review Committee. There are 5 positions. It's a 1-year commitment, plus some monthly meetings plus some time in the summer. This is a way for, if you live in the city of Defiance, to have a say on the charter or the direction that the city is taking, or how we can make Defiance a great place to live. If there are people here who live in the city of Defiance who would like to be considered for the Charter Review Committee, you can contact Lisa at the office or contact me or any of the council members in order to discuss what the responsibilities are and to have your name put in the hat as far as people that we can vote on. But with that, we have several items of legislation this evening. Would you read the caption for the first?
Second reading by caption only, an ordinance amending section 1519.04 of the codified ordinances of the city of Defiance, Ohio.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. This proposed ordinance eliminates the allowable days and hours where a resident may be able to ignite or discharge a 1.4 G consumer firework. This was per your direction at one of our December meetings. It would only allow for licensed exhibitors to discharge, explode, or ignite these types of fireworks, just as only licensed exhibitors can discharge 1.3 G display fireworks. This is obviously the second reading of your stated desire to have 3 full readings on this bill.
Do we have any comments from council in these regards? Do we have any? Yes, Mr. Engel.
Make a motion to let lie.
Do we have any, before we take this motion to let lie, do we have any citizens concern, any citizens who would like to speak to this issue? Would you come up and state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
All right, so Jeff Walter, 742 Corwin Street. I'm a Defiance resident here, of course. Been a Defiance resident for a long time, since I was yay high. So always been proud to be in Defiance. When I came back from the Air Force, I kind of had picked up a fascination for fireworks when I was overseas. And so I was kind of amazed to see that Ohio was one of the few states still stuck not allowing residents to ignite 1.4G fireworks. And so I lobbied Columbus for a good many years to try to encourage them to pass legislation to allow responsible citizens to handle fireworks, much as many other states in the United States do. That was finally passed, obviously, a couple of years ago. And now I'm seeing legislation that we're proposing to potentially take that right away from people in the city. Other cities have done it, so I'm not saying we can't do it. Obviously, went to the law director, it was researched. I'm not saying you can't do it. But sometimes when you can do a thing, you don't necessarily need to do the thing at all or the entire thing, right? So my hope would be that we reconsider some of, if not all of, removal of the dates that we're talking about. Fireworks are a popular part of American heritage. And one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is that Corwin Street actually has a block party. And so Lisa is nodding. Did you come to Bacon Fest?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we actually get a permit from the city. We close Corwin Street down. The city is gracious enough to let us do that for a day. We have a band. We have events for the kids. We have everybody come out in the neighborhood. They bring food. We roasted a pig the first year we did it. Couldn't get a pig this year, but that was okay. We did a bunch of pork butts and had pulled pork, and it's no cost to the residents. It's absolutely free. And I am the display manager, if you will, of the fireworks display. And the neighborhood puts in a lot of its own money to do this. I spent $3,000 of my own money last year putting on this party and the accompanying fireworks display. And we got amazing feedback. A lot of people really enjoyed it. The kids had a ball, and I think the parents liked it a lot because the kids went home and fell into bed and you didn't see them for 9 hours, which was great for the parents, right? For the grandparents. So that would, of course, eliminate that community event. And we don't want to see that go away. We like to have that. We operate safely. We cordon off a large area. We keep people out of it. We have safety gear. fire extinguishers, all the things you need to have, safety glasses, you name it. We do it the right way. We make sure that everybody has a good time, but I do not want to see it go away. Now, would I give up Diwali? Okay, twist my arm. I can see that, right? So maybe there's a compromise. Maybe it's keep the 4th, keep Memorial Day, keep Labor Day, keep some of the big hitters in there. You know, maybe New Year's 4th, Memorial Day, something like that, as opposed to putting them all out to pasture and going back to the good old days of me sitting there lighting smoke and snakes, because just not quite the same impact on the 4th of July. So thanks for letting me speak. I appreciate it, and you guys have a good evening.
Well, thank you. Did we have any other citizens' concerns? Mr. Hahn?
Good evening. Ralph Hahn, 901 Wilhelm Street. Last month we discussed the impact of what I called nuisance fireworks and the effect that that has on the senior citizens and our pets. And there have been folks that have found fireworks debris in their yard and on the hood of their vehicle. I also brought in the recorded fireworks complaints from our police department for 2023. Most of our housing is very close together, especially in the older sections. Too close to meet the state's 50-foot boundary for ground effect devices. Every year, the media, law enforcement, fire departments, they all warn about the dangers of fireworks, especially the children. This is from the Ohio new fireworks law, and it says, fireworks are extremely dangerous. Each year, thousands of people are injured in fireworks-related incidents, and sadly, many die as a result. In addition, fireworks start an average of 18,500 fires each year, resulting in extensive damage to structures, vehicles, and property. After the third reading, and on behalf of the citizens that have the same concern that I do, I'm asking council to approve the fireworks resolution as proposed by Mr. O'Donnell. Put fireworks back into the control of the city as it used to be. Give our police department the authority to respond to fireworks complaints and resolve as they see fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seibel.
Thank you. First of all, I want to apologize for not shoveling my walk in front of my business. And the reason I did that, I would note when the city replaced the sidewalk on Perry Street, the pitch is so much more than it used to be. It's almost scary. But I didn't shovel because I did shovel, and when it got so cold last week, the ice could not be melted by my ice melter, and I took probably the biggest fall I've taken in 20 years on the glaze of ice on the sidewalk, so I felt crunching through snow is safer. So when it becomes warmer, I will shovel it, but at this point, that's a safety reason that I didn't shovel it, so you could walk on crunchy snow.
thank you for what you do.
And
I know
I'm sorry
it's-
for interrupting, but for the audio record, would you state your name and address?
Peter Richard Seibel, 895 Inverness Drive, Defiance, Ohio, 43512, 77 years of age and a lifetime resident. So you got my letter and some of the things I put together, like how our representatives voted, how they sponsored the legislation. And thank you for reading it. Thank you for taking the time to at least consider it, even if you don't agree with it. I remember my dad putting fireworks when I lived on Jefferson Avenue in 1950 in the tube on the swing set. And we were all excited, and I watched the excitement that the children get out of it. The reason I do fireworks is for the kids in the neighborhood out in Kettering Hills. I do it on a sand location next to the pond. I try to shoot them over the pond. I obviously have a hose. And you read my letter, so that would just be repeating itself. So if you read it, you understand how much fun. My secretary's son keeps saying, when's Pete gonna set off the fireworks again? This brings joy to the children. Mr. Hahn, well, I respect how he feels, but he talks about nuisance fireworks. And if you see in the letter, I took the time after seeing there were 31 complaints. 22 of them would have been outside the ordinance anyway. So the people that are setting off the nuisance fireworks aren't going to listen to your ordinance anyway, but what it's going to do is curtail the responsible individuals who have, as Jeff said, the neighborhood parties, the get-togethers, the joy of the children. You're going to curtail that. Not to be a wise ass, but I don't need protected for me. I'm going to be responsible. I don't want to lose an eye. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But our representatives even passed it, sponsored and passed it, the people that represent us. We're a good community. Mr. Hahn talks about the injuries that you see. You know, the only serious injury that I've seen, and obviously I don't know all of them, the only serious injury I ever saw in the newspaper was that terrible tragedy, and I can't remember his name, down in Pontiac Park with the legal city fireworks that were being set off. I don't know if any of you remember that, but those were the legal ones. And I don't know of any injuries. I know there are a lot of injuries. I know there are a lot of stupid people out there that do stupid things like hold fireworks in their hands. It was the NFL player that lost 2 fingers. But I don't need that legislation. I think most of the intelligent citizens in this town don't need to be told that the state puts us at risk. So I'm asking you to please let us have our neighborhood get-togethers. Let us be responsible. Allow us to be stupid as long as we're not harming other people. Okay, I'm the only one that sets them off. I go down there, I set them off. It's just me, nobody else. If it's dry out, I won't set them off. So please allow us to be responsible in the process of celebrating special occasions and lighting up children's eyes. The law is pretty clear. Those that aren't going to comply with it aren't going to do it anyway. Like I said, 22 of those complaints were outside what the state statute would have allowed. I checked them. So you're not going to stop nuisance fireworks with this ordinance, but you are going to stop responsible local citizens from celebrating in their neighborhood with the children. I want to add one other thing for you, that I appreciate everything you do here. And I know that no matter what you do, somebody's going to complain. So I want to pass on to you something that I was told in the 80s, has nothing to do with fireworks, but I want to pass it on to you because I respect you guys putting the bullseye on yourself. When I was county prosecutor, I was complaining I was trying to do a good job, but I was getting criticized. And Russell Luthold, those of you who remember Russell, what a beautiful gentleman. He's driving the car. We're coming back from a civil rights hearing in Toledo because the county prosecutor then represented all the school districts. And I said, Russell, I get disappointed. I'm trying to do such a good job. I really am trying hard, and I'm still getting criticized. Russell looks over at me and goes, well, let me tell you something, Peter. He said, I believe Jesus was the Son of God. And we started the meeting with a prayer, so this is okay. I believe Jesus was the Son of God. And if the Son of God couldn't get 12 men to be unanimously loyal to him, who are you to do better? So I've been trying to make everybody, because I know if Jesus couldn't get 12 to do it, I'm not going to get even close to that. So when you're doing your job, just remember that, because that got me through some hard times, because it's like, okay, it's all right. You're gonna reset. So thank you for what you do, no matter what you do. I appreciate your being here and at least reading the letter and considering it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rusty.
What would be a compromise for you? 1 day?
Well, I don't really think a compromise is necessary, but if you're interested in a compromise, I put in my letter, let us apply for a permit. You know, $10, $20, $25, something reasonable. Because as Jeff said, I've got $3,000 of fireworks sitting in my basement that I wouldn't set off last summer because of the wind, the rain at Christmas. And I want to set them up. I do it all on my own. My wife gets sandwiches and soft drinks. Everybody comes over. I'm almost on the corner of Pinehurst and Inverness by the pond. But I would say what I put in my letter, maybe a permit, so those of us that are responsible come in and say, hey, here's my $25. This is what I'm gonna be setting up for fireworks.
That sounds good, but compromise on days.
I don't see, here's what I'm thinking, okay? I'm not a big woke person, but if you cut off some of the other dates, they're gonna say, oh, it's only for Christians. You know, because some of those are other celebrations for other people, so give them a chance to celebrate, and it's just one night, you know, Denali and a couple of the other ones. Labor Day, you aren't anti-union, are you? No, I'm just kidding, you know, but it's Labor Day. So I'm just saying, somebody will bitch no matter what you do.
Well, I'm just asking you.
I know. So I don't think a compromise is necessary. I really don't. It's only so many days a year, and it's on days we should be celebrating. I'm a Republican who supports the union's right to get its workers the best living possible, and it's up to management to have a backbone and say no if it's not a good contract. People used to bitch, oh, well, look at the unions. Well, look at management. They signed the contract too. So yeah, celebrate Labor Day, celebrate Christmas, celebrate, you know, 4th of July and some of the other dates. Let's celebrate more and quit bitching so much about everything. So that's my feeling, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? You know me, I ramble. Sorry, you gotta cut me off.
Well, thanks for being our guest.
No, thank you very much. And don't forget, he couldn't do 12, so we're not gonna do any better. So just do what's right in your conscience.
Do we have any other citizens' concerns on this issue? Mr. Gray.
I'm getting up there.
Take your time.
Daniel Gray, 10 Nicholas Street. I had my attorneys contact the state and check on this to see about the legal option of this fireworks law. And according to State Legislative Services, which is right below the State Assembly, this bill was passed in June of 2022. You guys were given 90 days to opt out. That would be September of 2022, not 16 months later. And the second portion is that, Sean, how many times have you told them that you can't make a law or a resolution that's more strict than what the state says?
And as a point of order, this is a city council meeting, and so if you would like to come and address council, that's fine.
What I'm saying is he said this numerous times.
But and if you'd like to address the Board of Control has
Okay.
meetings as well.
Then let's do this. According to the State Legislative Services, this is classified as a general law of the state of Ohio. According to the 18th Amendment, your home rule clause, you can't ban it. Can you restrict it a little bit? Yes. Can you stop it completely? No. Can you come along here and say, okay, as for like Joe says, a compromise? Can you sit there and restrict the aerial bombardments? Yes. Can you restrict the ones that they throw on the ground and blow up? No. Can you restrict the days? No. So, I mean, I don't know what you want to do, but if you pass it as it is, it's not enforceable. Can you go after the ones that sit there and shoot it off after the time limits? Yes. You've been able to do that all the time. I don't see why you need an ordinance saying that you got to do it now.
All right. Thanks for being our guest. And if your attorneys have opinions on Ohio ordinances, have them forward to Mr. O'Donnell. Thank you. With that, we have a motion to let live. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Oresti? All in favor of letting this issue lie until we meet next time, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We will let this issue lie. We'll pick it up next time.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a street sweeper and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So before we kind of get into the new one, I wanted to talk about the one that we're trying to replace because I know that's going to be a question. It was obviously my first question as well. Are we trying to replace a perfectly good street sweeper with something new or what? So when we kind of dug into it, this street sweeper is almost 20 years old. We've had it since 2005. We've rebuilt it once already, completely, with a totally new cab on top of it. It has had a lot of work done to it over the years and continues to require even more work. So that is what kind of brought about us to this place of wanting to take a look at one. It's served its useful life at almost 20 years. So what we're before you asking is to get a new one. It's from CityCat. It's CityCat 5006. It's $279,000. The first payment would not be until next year. We're looking to get it financed over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the deal with that is we have a loan coming off from the track list.
The track list will be
This will
up.
just replace that one.
The track list will be up in the end of 24, and then this will come on in 25.
So that would be our goal. The street sweeper, we use it a lot. We use it weekly. We would use it 3 times a day if the mayor had his way with it. It gets plenty of use and wear and tear. This newer one actually has the added benefit of a sharper turn radius, so it can actually get into some of the nooks and crannies along Clinton Street where the parking is, and be able to sweep that much better and make our city look nicer. So we're asking you for your approval to move forward on this.
Mr. Engel.
Yeah, is there a time frame when we would get that as far as ordering that or anything, or?
Not sure what the delivery date
I
would
think
be.
it was spring.
Spring?
Spring.
Yeah.
This spring,
yeah.
but the first payment's not.
Yeah,
due
we would
until
get it,
next
we would
year.
get it this
I
year.
don't know
We
how
just
long.
wouldn't have to, yeah, the first payment wouldn't be till
Yeah.
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the payment that's dropping off compared to the payment on this?
This one's about 10,000 more. It's relatively close to the track list.
The only reason I'm saying that is I know, you just made the comment yourself.
Yeah.
We got a lot of big projects going on here that we really need to spend in there 300,000.
Yeah.
So,
It's.
I mean, at some point we gotta start.
Isn't it?
We use it for MS4 purposes,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
as part of our, I can't remember how many point plan. We use it, Jen English does MS4, part of that is keeping the street swept and stuff out of the sewer systems and CSOs. Like leaf pickup, yep, so.
Mr. Hancock.
They plan on salvaging gov deals
So-
of the old one?
We actually had an offer from the company for a trade-in. The trade-in is not for a lot of money, so they've given us the opportunity to put it on Gov Deals first to see if we can make more money out of it. And then they will give us a small trade-in if we don't hit that reserve.
And also, do we have the new sweeper on our budget? Do we have this in our budget? for
no,
this?
because it will
It's
go on to
not.
25's budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Mr. Uresti.
No further questions, we'll suspend and call.
We have a motion to suspend and call. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Mast?
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusky?
Yes.
Mr. Matt?
Yes.
Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
And Mr. Engel?
Yes.
We have a motion to adopt.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mast?
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusky?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Waxler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing a contract for the monitoring and data management of flow meters and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So as part of one of our consent orders with the EPA, we are required to monitor and report CSOs that may occur in several parts of our system, as many of you have dealt with your years on council. So Xylem View actually manages that equipment and monitoring systems for us, the stuff that we use that reports back to us at the water pollution control plant that we in turn then have to report back to the EPA. So we're asking council to approve this contract so that we can continue to fulfill those EPA obligations to be able to get that reporting out through our consent order.
Mr. Rusty?
In the past, these systems have been very effective. I think you've been able to monitor what the, what needs to be followed for the EPA, so I think there's money well spent. Motion to suspend and call.
All right, if we have no other questions, we have a motion to suspend and call.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mast?
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
And Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Motion to adopt. Motion to adopt, Mr. Mass. Second, Mrs. Crutch?
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch? Yes. Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
And Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing and appropriating payment of the Ohio Department of Transportation for resurfacing and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So as many of you are aware, when ODOT decides to repave its state highways, and those state highways happen to come through the city of Defiance, we are in charge of footing some of that bill. So for this year, that bill is $409,000, and that will cover us North Clinton Street from Sessions to Elliott, Dahmersville Road from US 24 to State Route 18, East Second from Dahmersville east to the corporation limit, and that will cover our section of it for this year. So we are asking you to approve this. The reason we are asking to get it done so quickly is to keep on the appropriate schedules for ODOT so that we can get all this stuff taken care of in a timely manner. This paving will all take place in '24.
Okay. Mayor McCann?
I'll just add to what Mr. Mack is saying. In mayor's conferences that I attend, this particular issue is a common point of contention between mayors, and when we have the opportunity to speak to the governor, lieutenant governor, in that ODOT comes in and tells us which streets they're going to do and when they're going to do them, and especially smaller cities and villages have not been able to help, and therefore the streets don't get paved. And we are able to handle this. And it's a point of contention. How well they're listening in Columbus, I won't say, but it's been discussed extensively the last couple of years. We have a lot of state routes within our city.
And we are able to handle it, but it's still, I mean, that's 409,000 that we could be paving our roads with.
Right, we weren't
yes.
really thinking about it, yeah. Yep.
Does the council have any questions in these regards?
No
Mr.
further
Corbett?
question, motion to suspend the call.
Motion to suspend and call, Mr. Corbett.
Second.
Second, Mr. Engel.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch? Yes. Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
And Mr. Mass?
Yes.
With that,
Motion to adopt.
motion to adopt, Mr. Mass.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hancock.
Mrs. Crutch? Yes. Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mass?
Yes.
And Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is also adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance amending ordinance number 8549 passed December 7th, 2023 to make appropriation for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Defiance, Ohio during the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Ms. Bragg?
Yes, I sent out the supplemental appropriations. The first one is general fund money, $4,500 for Melinda's engineering. There was software we didn't originally have in and need to get that in, asset essentials. The rest of them are tied into Ryan's projects he talked about. These are all items that we closed out in '23 and needed to reopen into '24. Carpenter tower painting, $922,200. The Derbyshire projects, that totals $960,717. The sewer portion of Derbyshire, $442,662.11. The design work for WPC is $13,004, and then sewer capital $492,800. And then down below is just the funding, sorry, that should say design. It's just the grant funds that we're receiving to offset some of those projects. All I have for the supplementals.
Any questions in these regards for Ms. Sprague?
No further questions, motion to suspend the call.
Motion to suspend and call, Mrs. Crutch.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mast.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Crutch?
Yes. All right, with that, this ordinance is adopted.
That was just a motion.
Motion to adopt.
I was getting ahead. Well, do we even have a motion to adopt, Mr. Waxler?
Second, sir.
Second, Mr. Corbett?
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
And Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is adopted.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing monthly transfer of funds for the city of Defiance, Ohio for the year ending December 31st, 2024.
Ms. Sprague.
These are just the transfers that Carrie does every month. This will cover January through September of this year, and then in September, her and I can sit down and reevaluate those funds and see if we need to adjust them at all. Hopefully not, but never know what will happen, so pray for the best. But the good thing is the splash pad's paid off, so that fund had dropped down, the advance out of the general fund. So, you know, just to keep some going in there for maintenance of that facility. So, think of summer. That's all I have.
Mr. Wexler?
No further question, no suspending call.
Motion to suspend and call?
Second.
Do you have a second, Mr. Mast?
Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
And Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Motion to adopt?
Motion adopted.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Engel?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Crutch?
Mr. Mast?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
And Mr. Rusty?
Yes.
With that, this ordinance is adopted. With the items of legislation addressed, and before our executive session this evening, do we have any further citizens' concerns, or did any citizens reach out to council members, have their views expressed? Without any, we can stretch our legs for a couple minutes before we enter executive session.